It's spinning. All right, we are live. A show, Scott and Scott. I tried to, or we were going to do this. It was a couple months ago. This whiskey got delayed. We had everything set up. We were ready to go. It got pushed back till July. Here we are. It's July. Finally joining me from Wisconsin.
Yes.
On YouTube channel called My Bourbon Journey, but Scott Page. So Scott here, Scott there. Go ahead and introduce yourself and Cliff Note version about.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I mean, it's I feel kind of like one of the old school guys going back, when there weren't a lot of people doing it. I know you and Bart were doing things, but I guess kind of Cliff Note version, my channel, My Bourbon Journey, kind of started as really just a small little video diary. I had no intention of doing any kind of real reviews. And then I started doing a couple of them just randomly, got a few comments and thought, well, that's kind of cool. Let's maybe kind of go down that path. And it's kind of led to everything that's happened to date. And it's been an awesome journey. That's for sure. And I've met an awful lot of good people along the way, and couldn't ask for more. So thanks for having me tonight. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. In fact, you've been working a lot with Jason Calori, the Mash and Drum, and I know you guys are doing Mash and Journey.
Yep. So we've got we're at it now for probably a little over a year and a half. Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, and we've had a really good time getting to a lot of distilleries, meeting a lot of people. Having patrons and stuff meet us at distilleries, doing all these barrel picks, and that's been a lot of fun, and really we've kind of continued to grow it, and we're having a really good time with all of that. So it's an interesting way to try some really different and interesting whiskeys and get them out to people who appreciate that. So.
Yeah. And even I haven't checked in on your YouTube channel for a little bit, but your subscribers there, you've really progressed pretty good. You were up to, I think, 17,000 to 20,000 subs.
I'm a little shy of that. I think I'm right around 12,000 right now. 12, but it's kind of a little slower going than you'd like. But I kind of stopped worrying about all of that stuff, years ago, and kind of having, focusing on more of the having fun, and it's been nice to just meet a lot of different people, and honestly, that's a lot of what kind of keeps me going is a lot of the people that you meet along the way. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. And getting to do fun things like this. I mean, without all of that, I mean, you wouldn't have these opportunities, and so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, and we met a few years ago. You came on the Scotch Test Dummies at least once. I think we've had you on for one of the 12 hours of Boom. Yep. And probably we used to do live streams on different nights or Sundays. And I think we had you on there as well.
Yeah, we did a couple of those, and I know we had there for a while, like a monthly thing that we were kind of all doing, and that kind of fell off a little bit. But I mean, I think, family and time and all of that, and we were talking about it before we went live. I mean, time management in this industry is a huge deal, and it can. When you've got a regular full-time job and you're doing all of these other things, you kind of have to make sure you reel it all in and, not let things kind of take over. But it's been a lot of fun, and probably for you and I, it goes back probably a few years or so ago now. So.
Yep. Well, I think probably at the time you were one of the first bourbon channels. You came on. We had Scotch channels and. Whiskey reviewers, and then for a bourbon channel, you were one of the first, really, I think, that was just kind of bourbon centered.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of them. I mean, kind of thinking back, I knew you guys were already, I think, at it for at least 2 or 3 years, because mine started really the tail end of, kind of the middle to tail end of 2016. So you guys, I think, had already been at it for a couple of years. Ralphie was in it. There were a couple other people, I think, that have there was a lady who did I think she was like the whiskey bitch or something like that.
Yeah.
She did a lot of things, and then she kind of disappeared. But there weren't a lot of them, and there was no real benchmark for any of us. And really, even when you guys were doing it, and even when I was, there were no live streams. We weren't doing these things. That wasn't even a thing at all. So, it kind of goes back. Seems like kind of the OGs of the whiskey world a little bit. So,
All right. So there's probably people waiting to see what whiskey we're going to be talking about tonight. We do have a new American whiskey, American corn whiskey, going to be released tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And I'll see if I need to stay in the light, if I can get it to focus. Kind of there. It had it. And yay, nay. CW 1.2, Gum Gatherer's Cabin. And I can highlight Scott here. His is focusing.
There we go.
11-year-old American corn whiskey, 61.4% ABV. Be available tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. And let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I knew kind of when I saw some of the stats on it. I know we were talking a little bit briefly about it before, and it's an interesting thing. It's not very often that you see kind of a really nicely aged corn whiskey, at cask strength. So that was already kind of different and unique about it. So,
and I did have, let's see if I still have it pulled up, our product page. We had the mash bill as well. It's 80% corn. This will be available on the website page for it tomorrow. There will be 108 bottles available. Mash bill is 80% corn, 8% rye, and 12% malted barley.
Okay.
Nice, golden, rich.
Yeah.
Huge.
It was the one thing when I first kind of poured it, and I've had mine now sitting out for probably about a good, I'll say 35 or so minutes before. So, well, I guess a quick little story on this one was we were a little bit in scramble mode. So Scott and I, we were kind of going back and forth a little bit, and the bottle was coming, and it wasn't here yesterday. Was hoping it was going to get here today, and we'd have to postpone this thing. So I got this about 2 hours ago at the door. I got it into a cool area of the house so I could kind of get it from out of the 100 degree FedEx truck, and wanted to kind of get it opened up and kind of cooled back down. And it's done a nice job, but
good.
I'm glad we were able to do it.
Yeah, it was supposed to have been delivered Monday, and then it was Tuesday, and then it was today by 8 p.m. There wasn't going to be a delaying of the stream, Scott. It was going to be me tasting it and you sitting there nodding your head.
And that's fine too. It's like, I'll just live through you. I'd live through you. But I like this. I think for me, when I first opened it up, you got of course, a little bit of the ethanol that was there, but now with it being opened up, it's gotten really nice and kind of fruity. There's that real nice, for me, kind of citrus. I know I say citrus and then follow it up with apple, but I'm kind of that orchard fruit kind of aspect to it.
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that as well. Citrus, and sometimes you just know it's like a lighter fruit. So, you get those citrus notes. Sometimes you're like, okay, it's apples, it's pears, it's oranges, lemons. But sometimes it's citrus to me is just more of like that lighter fruit note that you're getting.
Yeah.
Kind of a toasted honey with it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Cinnamon.
Yeah, definitely some cinnamon. I think it's kind of, again, you get kind of a little bit maybe of that like buttered popcorn.
Yeah. Okay.
That's there. Nice kind of like sweet oak. There's also a little bit of I'm always hesitant to say this, but there's like a little bit of like a perfume note to it. There's that intenseness of like a nice perfume.
Yeah. Perfumey.
Yeah.
And earthy as well. I about said just dust at first, but it's almost like dirt. Almost just like soil, like a soil nose.
Yeah. I wonder if that's kind of the oak influence or something that's there, because it's a nice oak that's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you said honey, as soon as you said that, I was thinking of like honey graham cracker, like cereal almost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's really nice. Sweet. You definitely get that kind of, vanilla kind of cake batter or something.
It's making me salivate, actually, just smelling the back of it's like my mouth is anticipating.
Yeah.
This one.
Also like one other thing, and I don't know if you're picking this up or whatever, but like the smell, like the different smell of like a golden raisin versus a regular one.
Oh, sure.
And maybe I'm being kind of fooled into it because it looks like a golden raisin, but as soon as I kind of started nosing it a little bit, I was getting a little bit of like a raisin note.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I'd even kind of just throw that in there with the citrus notes, those lighter.
Yeah.
Honey.
Yeah.
What's the branch that grows up on the vine? Honeycomb? No. Honeysuckle.
Yeah, honeysuckle. Okay.
Toasted honeysuckle. Nice.
Yeah, that's a good call. I like the toasted. Like as soon as you started to say it, you can really there's that nice kind of toasted aspect to it. Oh. Yeah, it's really, I mean, I like the fruit on it, the summer fruit that's there. But more of, again, I'll stick in that like citrusy kind of thing. Not like, I wouldn't say there's much of like a dark fruit kind of influence. It's much more of a vibrant kind of summer fruit.
I would even just say apples.
Yeah,
even like almost a little bit of an apple pie with the cinnamon, the graham cracker, almost honeycomb.
Yeah, the one thing that's it's not overly corny. You're not picking up a lot of that corn influence, which a lot of times with corn whiskeys you will. Now again, a lot of them are much lower proof. I mean, this is a really high proof corn whiskey, so maybe that's doing something a little bit different. But and that softness that's there could also be some of the barley notes coming out too. Boy, much more vanilla too. So did you explain to them? And I'm guessing that maybe a lot of people understand like your kind of code and all that on the bottle. So did you explain like what that CW 1.2?
When I introduced it, anybody that's watching that doesn't know, CW 1.2 is our cask number on this one. CW standing for corn whiskey. CW1 meaning it's the first distillery we've sourced a corn whiskey from, and then the number 2 means this is the second cask that we've got from that distillery. So, and there's a couple of questions about our barrel type on this and because it is a new charred barrel that this was aged in. And then, could it be a bourbon? Is it a corn whiskey? Our mash bill is definitely could be a bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And John Mack asked, was it aged in the U.S.? This one was sent across to the U.K. Where it was bottled and then bottle sent back. So there was an aging period in the U.K. for this one.
Would that have been the only classification that eliminated it from being a bourbon? I mean, other than the distillation proof, that's the only other thing I could think of. But I mean,
yeah,
I don't know because I mean, really, based on all of those other things, I mean, yeah, it could have said bourbon on it because frankly, there are mash bills that are similar to this that are classified as bourbon, and I wonder if by it leaving the country that disqualified it from being considered a bourbon. I'm assuming that's probably part of it, but
yeah. But then one of the restrictions or requirements for corn whiskey is that it can't be aged in a new barrel.
Right.
It has to be aged in prior filled barrels as well.
Oh yeah, and this is a new char.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess my thought based on that's a very good point. So I mean, I think the only thing that's keeping this from being technically considered a bourbon is that it left the U.S.
States.
Yeah.
All right, let's get in.
All right, let's get into it.
Cheers.
Cheers to you.
Wow.
Very, very viscous. Nice mouth coating on it. Oily.
Woo.
Got some heat that'll give you a little pucker. There's no doubt about that.
It's chewy. It's thick, man. There is a lot going on there.
Yeah, that's
I've had some 15-year-old bourbons and American whiskeys with a feel like, I mean, that one feels a lot older than 11. The way that one's, the tannins from that are digging in. A lot of oak, a lot of cinnamon, butter.
Yeah.
Buttered popcorn.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things I was just kind of thinking. There's much more of that buttered popcorn. Again, that nice summer fruit. We'll just kind of stick with the kind of apple theme, I guess. That's definitely there. But very, very oily, very creamy. Coats the mouth really well. The second and third sips, these will really give you a good tell.
Wow. Sweet. Not a slight brown sugars, but not like a lot of brown sugars that you get from a bourbon. More just like kind of white sugar, cane sugar.
Yeah.
Citrus, honeyed.
Yeah, I would agree. There's that little bit of a confectionery kind of to it. There's that sweetness that's there, like kind of like a powdered sugar or something like that. But yeah, I'll say a lot of honey. There's way more honey coming out in this now than there was. That sweet oak that's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sweet oak.
Yeah. Good. You kind of got hit like up front with the sweetness like immediately, and then it kind of started to transition into more of the complexity part of that. So really nice and rich and creamy. Hey, Mash and Drum, I know that guy.
We was just talking about him.
We're just talking about him. we can't tell them what we were talking about, but yeah, I really like this, and I like oak on a whiskey. So I mean, for me, are you picking up a little on the finish, like a slight dryness that's there at all?
Yeah, I would say just very slight. You know, as you get into those, if you like I like the older, whiskeys that I've had the Elijah Craig 18 and the 23. Knob Creek 15. To me, they were all a little bit higher with that oak. You age those bourbons longer, and man, that oak really starts to kick in, and I like it. Some people don't like it, but I like it. Here, I mean, the oak isn't necessarily here screaming like it's overaged or that it's overpowering.
No.
But what you get a lot of times too with that oak on those older bourbons is a astringency, it'll cause that drying of the mouth when you drink it.
And there's not that. There's nothing that's astringent really about it. I mean, the sweetness, but it's really well balanced. That's what I like. But it's got that nice like wave. You get that really upfront sweetness, and then some of the richer part of it kind of kicks in on that kind of mid to back of the palate.
I like the toasted honeysuckle here as well. And maybe even, I don't know why lavender is coming to mind. Almost like a little bit of a lavender type floral note. Maybe some of the perfumeness that you were getting on the nose.
Yeah. I think maybe even a slight, like we were kind of talking about this now. Like, I think this is a little bit of where that like kind of dusty oak and maybe even like a slight like butterscotchy note is kind of there. And that I tend to pick that up on a little bit more of the older aged whiskeys, that kind of that note of that kind of rickhouse effect a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and then, so I was getting the soil or kind of what I thought was like dusty or dirt at first, and it was kind of soilish. A lot of times with scotches, when they're aged in, in the warehouses that have dirt floors called dunnage warehouses, you'll get that dunnage note sometimes. I also wonder if maybe this one had spent some time around a dirt floor.
Interesting.
And aged.
Yeah, and that's something I have. I don't think I've ever experienced that. It'd be neat to have to try or to nose or taste something that's been exposed to something like that.
Renee Baldwin is asking, was that 2 drops of water? Yeah, I added a couple drops. These higher ABVs, and so I've started, instead of saying I added a drop of water, I'll say my first round of water, because a lot of times at 61.4%, I might put 3 or 4 drops in it. My first round.
Yeah. Yeah. Are
And
you? Let me ask you this: with the water, is it bringing out more sweetness to you?
I haven't tasted it yet.
Oh,
I
you
just
haven't.
added it.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Okay.
John Mack was asking how many bottles are allocated to the USA. Total bottles in this worldwide 244. There were 108 that are in the States.
Mm.
So, and SMWS Australia tuning in. Hello again from SMWS Aussie branch. And if I believe if I remember right, they're 12 hours, maybe 13 hours ahead of us. So it's like 7 or 8 in the morning there.
Wow. Cheers, mate.
Yeah. Archie Tyler saying the perfect Scott overload.
Yeah. Two Scott.
Right. With water.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't bring any with me, but we'll rely on you.
Go grab some if you need to.
I'm not used to actually, you know what? I might have you know what? Let's do this. I'm gonna add actually let me not to dilute it too much. Let me get a little more in there.
Yeah.
And I'll throw a couple drops of water and see what that does.
Well, I mean, I know why, but all of a sudden, I mean, a little bit of a dill pickle, which from a rye, but rye was what, 8% of this mash bill?
Yeah, was it? Yeah,
8% rye.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm getting a little with water, almost like the sweet bread and butter pickle. That's what it is. It's like a sweet bread and butter pickle.
Oh, interesting. Boy, see, for me, much more like vanilla custard has come out, especially on the nose right now. And that's typical for me, like adding water, it brings out a lot more sweetness, and maybe for a lot of others too, but boy, that kind of brought out a little more oak in it too, but
wow. Yeah. Everything's expanding here. Woo. Everything's still there. The oak, the cinnamons, the honeys, the citrus, all expanding, pushing out. Woo.
I think even more what I wasn't getting a lot of before, but much more caramels. There's more of that rich kind of fresh caramel note.
Caramel, milk chocolate.
Oh, I can see that. That's kind of a good call. A little bit of that chocolate, I think, brought it out. Yeah, I would say a couple, 2-3 drops of water might do this some justice, to be honest. It feels creamier for some reason. I don't know why, but that's interesting.
I'm actually thinking buttered sourdough bread when you said creamier.
Oh, interesting.
A nice piece of warm sourdough bread with butter melting on it.
Huh. And now I'm hungry. Sounds actually pretty darn good, to be honest.
Cody Rankin asking, does the mouthful go away yet with
No.
water?
No.
And it has not. And that's my first round of water. This was 61.4. I'm still high 50s here, if not even 60% with a little bit of water that I added. And it's still...
I think honestly, like adding water for whatever reason seems like it's made it even more creamy for whatever reason. It just, I don't know what it's done, but it's really made it, I'll say even slightly richer, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The nose on this one is so nice. I mean, you can just sit here and nose it.
Yeah.
You can taste it. You can add water.
Yeah, I love how kind of buttercream it is. It's very mouth coating. Let me see, is it oily on the glass?
Oh yeah. It's coating mine. Yeah. There's nice legs running on mine.
Yeah.
Wow. It is. Yeah. It's a nice oily mouthfeel. Yeah. Let me even get my second round of water in here.
Yeah, that's really nice. I like the oak on this. It's not over oaked by any means. If it's just that sweet, like slight rickhouse, like oak that's there on it. I love that on the finish of a whiskey. So
Ooh, yeah. Stunner.
Yeah, I think it's a really, I mean, I guess when you talk about like, I mean, a corn whiskey that's 11 years old, cask strength, like we were saying before, there's not a lot of these out there, to be honest. So I think to get a bottle like this being this kind of different and unique, I think it's kind of cool, to be honest. I like what it has. I mean, I'm glad it's not this and 90 proof, I mean, for what this is, that's a really, really nice whiskey. And we haven't even talked about this. It's really dangerously easy to drink. It's not drinking. I mean, even adding a couple drops of water, I mean, we're still in the, mid one teens or something like that. And it's really, really drinkable. That's for sure.
It is. Yeah. And you've got a little, you were talking about finding an 11-year-old corn whiskey, of this caliber or this cask type. Yeah. And you've been doing single cask. You've been doing barrel picks, with the mash and drum, like we were talking about. So you've got a little bit of experience in there, and you've even probably, had your feelers out there in the industry a little bit.
Yeah, we've not really run into, maybe we had like one opportunity. I mean, we've had some really high aged Canadian whiskey. Not anything that's been really high aged, just corn whiskey. So this is a little bit different and unique. And I think for us, it would be something, we would jump at, but to date, we haven't had really much of an opportunity to lock anything like this down. So, but really nice though.
Yeah. Yeah. Really impressive. Yeah. And it's a great finish on it as well, even though now I added my second round of water. I haven't tasted it yet with my second round of water, but even the last sip I took is still, it's soaked into my gums. I'm still sitting here tasting it while you were talking. Just fabulous finish on it. Mm-hmm. Woo. Nice nose still. Just keep going back.
I think there's even some slight, as it kind of opened up and the water kind of continues to do its thing, there almost seems to be a little bit of like a tobacco note kind of coming out mixed in there with the oak, maybe a little bit of leather and some tobacco. It's a lot going on. To be honest. And that's the fun part about a whiskey like this, or, some really nice whiskeys, is that it continues to evolve the longer you sit with it and nose it and try it. And that's one thing I've really come to appreciate with a whiskey is just, man, sit down, take your time with it, because it's bound to change. If it's a good whiskey, it's going to probably change on you some. So, that's interesting. I just got a little bit of a cherry note.
Yeah. I about said maraschino cherries earlier. Or is it the Luxardo cherry?
Those Luxardos, man, those are good. Those are the good ones. That's for sure. But I want to default to that just because it's a good old cherry. But
now, someone did ask earlier, what part of Wisconsin were you in?
So I'm in, I guess, in terms of the southeastern part of Wisconsin. I'm just a little bit west of Milwaukee. So, yeah.
Well, that came up just if your bottle didn't get there in time, or if it wasn't going to arrive today. I was like, well, normally maybe I would drive you a sample, but I was like, nah, he's in Wisconsin.
No, that's fine. We'd have to meet somewhere in like either like Indiana. You probably don't want to drive as far as Chicago or whatever, but we'd have to probably meet in Indiana or somewhere or something like that, or maybe Iowa even.
Now, how far? Jason is in Columbus, Ohio. How far are you from there?
I'm about 7 hours from him. I can go to him or Bardstown, Kentucky in about the same amount of time.
That's still a pretty good drive, though.
Yeah, it's not bad. It feels like I need like a rental property there, because I feel like I'm there so often with picks and just being there that it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to invest in something there at some point, just to have a place to always go. But it's one of those things when you get so used to the drive, you can do it kind of like in your sleep, but it's not too bad.
2 rounds of water hasn't hurt this one a bit.
Okay, that's good.
My palate is still just sitting here, it's just soaking in, and it's beautiful. This is a great whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
But wow. Yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, and I wouldn't let, for somebody who may be thinking something different or weird about corn whiskeys, man, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't let that name in that bottle. And I don't think it's going to have any effect, of course. But, I think when people see certain names on bottles, I think people, I don't know about that. But I'll tell you, this is, it's a really, really nice whiskey, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's good. So 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow time, this one will be available on the website. 108 bottles allocated to the U.S. What was it? 244 total worldwide. And I would say be quick, because our American whiskeys are generally lasting 2 to maybe 3 hours on the website. So if you're watching, or you've watched this and you're interested, get your fingers ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think people who get their hands on this will be pleasantly surprised. It's a unique corn whiskey with that kind of age and proof. I think that's it's very different and unique, and it's a great whiskey. Period. So.
Yep. All right, Scott. Well, I think we're a little over 30 minutes now for the one bottle review. So I think we can wrap it up. Thank you for joining me. And again, just tell everybody again who you are, where to find you, and hopefully some people will come check out your channel.
Yeah, Scott from My Bourbon Journey. So typically a lot of my videos are kind of American whiskey, centric, I'll say, I guess. But yeah, if that's your thing. But yeah, check out on Instagram, YouTube, all of that, My Bourbon Journey, and yeah, you can find me there.
Yep. All right. And yes, John, one bottle per member limit on this one. Thanks to everybody that tuned in, and remember, as it says on every bottle, it's on the back, Scotch Malt Whiskey Society whiskeys are not for swigging, glugging, or knocking back. Please drink responsibly. Cheers.
Cheers.